Hi guys, welcome to GDSC Google Developer Student Club here at Heriot-Watt University. Today is our session on Introduction to APIs in Google. So since you guys will be, when you guys go out, once you're done with university, you guys will be interacting a lot, even in your projects right now. You guys will be interacting a lot with APIs in Google that Google provides. So this is just a gentle introduction to the different APIs they provide. So APIs, so I'm going to start the session. I have the chat open here, so if you guys want to say something, you can put it in the chat and I can see it right over here. So APIs basically are application programming interfaces, which means that as a developer, you are able to interact with another software without needing to know what exactly it does on the inside. It just, you give it some input and it will give you an output back. So this will teach you the basics of how to form an API, how to write an API that can be validated and used in Google. What are the prerequisites for this course? You guys do not have to worry about prerequisites because all you need, it's an introductory level course. So all you need is an internet connection and computer tester. I highly encourage that you guys follow along with the lab if possible, because most of you all have, if not all students at Heriot-Watt have access to Quick Labs. So they get a free monthly subscription for Quick Labs. So join us and we will go from there. So as I said, there's no familiarity required, and to start the lab, all we're going to do is start the lab over here and we'll get 1 hour to play around with this. Session will be 1 hour long and a little over 1 hour with questions if we have any. So let's start, and yep, so we're active. So let's open this in an incognito window and let's use the credentials that they've given us to sign in. So let's go to United States. Next, let us copy the password from here and we will put this to the side so it's easier. Yep. And we log in. So once you have logged in, okay, so we've logged in. Once you've logged in, agree to the terms and conditions, and just that's it. So this is the Google Cloud Platform. Some of you might be familiar with it. For some it might be completely new. That's okay. This is basically your dashboard where you start off with. So access to any resources that GCP provides, you guys will have access to from here. So what we are interested is in APIs and services, and let's go back to the tutorial. And 1 second. Yep. So okay. So once we've logged in, we follow the first initial step. So API is what and why. So APIs, like I mentioned earlier, is just a program or an interface that you as a developer can use to interact with particular services offered. And so you don't need to know the inner workings. All you need to know is what data you need to give and what data you would get back. That's basically the gist of it. So cloud APIs for Google is whenever they have different services, such as they have vision or speech ML, vision ML. So there are various APIs that you can interact with, even BigQuery. To access those, oftentimes you don't have to submit your code. All you need to do is make a call to a particular endpoint, and that endpoint is the API that you would use an API key and you would call. You'd send in a JSON file usually, and you'd get a JSON response back. So let's go and check out the APIs library first. So I'm actually going to move this here. So and there you go. So let's go to the API services and let us go to the dashboard. So once we load into the API, you can see, so whenever you have an API that's active on your account, you can see all the whatever you're doing, like the logs of it. So how much traffic, how many people are using it, what are the errors, how long does it take, and so and so. So for now, we're gonna play around with the fitness API. So you can come down to library. We can use the fitness API, for example. We can search for APIs. Suppose say we want they have a multitude of APIs. You can see that there are different categories, and there's a multitude of APIs that you can scroll through, use whichever one you like. So for this example, for this lab particularly, we're going to be looking into the fitness API. And for the fitness API is you usually have Google Health on your phone, which tracks how much you walk, what your heart rate is. You can put in your weight, regular weights to keep a track on. So we will enable this. And once enabled, we can go back to the dashboard and we can check it out. So we wait. So now that it's been enabled, as you can see, it shows metrics and overview exclusively for the fitness API. And what you can do is now you can go back to your dashboard. That is APIs and services dashboard. Once you do that, you can go to fitness API on the bottom. You can scroll down till you reach fitness API. You can actually search for it. So let's search filter. Let's type over here fitness API and select it. Once we're here, we can go to the quotas and we can set the daily quotas that we might need. So for this particular one, we can expand the request and we can say we have a default amount over here. That is per day, they have limited it to 864,000, and every minute per user they can make 300, and every minute that your account can take in total is 600. That means 2 users can continuously spam it if they are making 300 requests per minute, but it usually would be much more higher. So once that is done, the next thing we need to do is the client architecture model. So the client server model. So what happens is usually you have a server and you have different clients in. Actually, let me see if I can show it out here. Yes. So usually you have the internet and you have a server where you get your data from or you work with data. Your clients need to connect to them. So so how do you connect to them? You can't make a connection that lasts the entire time you're online. So basically what you need to do is you need to send packets of data to that particular server and you need to get information back. That exchange of information is what an API does, right? So the server has the data, it processes the data that you send it and gives you back something that you require or need. So HTTP is a protocol that is hypertext transport protocol that is used. It's very commonly used. You might have seen it as HTTPS, which is a secure version of it. It has 4 different types of methods that you can do. The get, to get information. Put is to basically add a new information on the server or to create something. You have post, which is used to create new resources. So you can say, suppose you want to create a new container or you want to create a new page, you would use post. And then you have delete, where you would delete things from the server, or you can delete things from the server. So although there are a lot of APIs. Some of them might have different ways of using data. It might get confusing, but they all boil down to these 4 categories in the end, because that is the standard. You might have also heard of RESTful APIs. So this is something you guys can. So there's a test, a computing device that makes a request for some computing resource or data. So would that be a client server model, web-based API? In this case, it's going to be a smartphone, laptop that makes a request. So whenever you make a request, that's usually the client that makes a request to the server. So let's select that. There we go. And an HTTP method that's used to create new resources, which is post, because when you want to create a new page, a container, create a new post, or whatever it is, on social media, you'd use post. So you have that. And then endpoints. So now another question people might ask is, okay, I have an API, but how do others interact with it? So you provide them with endpoints. Endpoints are basically particular URIs, uniform resource locators URLs that you can make requests to or make different types of requests to, and they are willing. Those are server endpoints that are willing to accept whatever request you make the change, and then send it back. For example, you have store locations for example.com, or you have example.com/accounts or example.com/employees. There are various different ones. So if you want to do anything with accounts, you would say, okay, let's go to accounts and then do it. Or you want to do with employees, you want to make change to some employee detail, you would go towards example.com/employees and make the change. There are other types. You can have, usually endpoints don't stop with one slash, they can be nested in. So for example, if you want to make change to a particular store, suppose say you want to make change exclusively to the store in San Francisco, you would have example.com/store location slash San Francisco, and then you would send your method to that particular URI, and that's how you would make the change. And you can add queries to the endpoints, that is usually using question marks. That is how it's been traditionally done, but nowadays you are able to send JSON data also. So once that is done, so then we have the concept of RESTful APIs. RESTful APIs are basically representational state transfer APIs, which means that whatever data you send to the server and you get it changes the state within the server, and you wait for that response to change your state. As that is, the client does not react or make changes to itself unless it has received a proper validation from the server, or it has received a response from the server. So there are two things that the RESTful APIs do. They have a format that they follow, that is headers and body. Headers are basically all the information needed for the server to know where to send or what to do with this particular request, and body contains the data and what the server needs to do with the data. So usually it's written in JSON or XML. Most notably, it's being written in JSON as of now because it's easier to understand, easier to read and organize. So we have in JSON. Okay, so now we talk about JSON. So in JSON, there are JSON supports. It's like, think of it like a programming language or a programming. It's not a language, programming language, more of a markup language, more of a language that you'd use to express. So it supports numbers, that is, you can use integers, floating points. It does not make a distinction. So any number you want to put, you can put in it. It supports strings. You can do true or false values. You can do arrays. So that can be a list of these other values. And you can have an empty value also in case you don't want to send anything at the particular key value pair. So JSON is made up of key value pairs. That means there's a key for whatever value you want to send. Suppose say you want to send name. So suppose you want to send information of a person, you would have name. Suppose if I'm sending my information, it would be name, and then in strings it would be Benjamin. And suppose say you want to send the course I'm doing or where I'm studying, I would have comma on the next line. I would have university as the key, and in strings I would have Heriot-Watt University or of some sort. So these are some examples as you can see on screen. So the first one is a string example. Then we have a key example, that is for numbers. You can do 64. Boolean is represented with a capital. It starts with a capital letter, but you can either say true or false. And this is how an array works. It can be an array of either strings, array of numbers, an array of true or false. And usually a JSON object, which is what contains a lot of information in like one body. So in one sense you would send. So for example, here there is name is Julie. The hometown is also of string type, so that is Los Angeles. And then you have the age, which is the number, which is a number, and you send it. So there are usually you'd find a lot of JSON validators online. So when you write a JSON file, you can make sure that it is valid JSON, because if you send ill-formed or not proper JSON formats, sometimes it doesn't sometimes it cannot pass it properly, and you might not get the result that you're expecting. So it's always important that you validate the JSON request that you are making. So for example, let's try this example. Let's go to Json Lint validator in a new tab, and let's try this example. So let's copy the first one. This is a valid, for example, this is a valid, as you paste it, and when we press say validate JSON, it says, hey, this is a valid JSON. But the minute we make a change, suppose we tab it or move it by change the indentation, and we say let's validate it, it validates it. But suppose say we don't have the comma there. Suppose say we forget the comma and we just send it, and it says, hey, there's an issue, you need to parse it. It was expecting an end of file or a comma or a colon or an end of bracket, but it got a string, which is not what it wanted. So you can use JSON validators online or there are inbuilt tools in programming languages, libraries for example, that can validate it. Once that is completed, so you can validate JSON. Basically make sure your JSON is well formatted. So let's try this quiz over here. Access points to data and computing resources hosted on a server, and they take the form of an HTTP URI. Those, what do you think they are called? I would say they're called endpoints, because that's where that's access points for your particular API. An architectural style that does prescribe standards, that is RESTful, and you can, oh, that was not what? I believe it is REST then. There you go. A file format that is lightweight, easy to read, and fast to parse, that would become JSON, because we learned earlier. And we have creating a JSON file. Now we are going to actually do the hands-on. Now that I hope you guys have an understanding of what JSON files are, what APIs are, and how they work. So let's start making JSON files in the console. So I shall move this out of the way, and back to the console. We can go, and we can go to. Let me paste this here. So from the file, that is the quick labs, you'll see open the following link in a new tab to ensure that this thing is enabled. So we have a question in chat. Ismail, hi. So aren't these request methods used in Firebase also? Yes, they are. Yes, they are used in Firebase also. Firebase is part of GCP, so any resources that you make use in GCP is they're the same requests that you would make. They're similar requests. So how you form them. So I will get back to the. So let's go up into our cloud. So you come back to the dashboard that you can click on Google Cloud Platform, and you can come back to the dashboard. On top, on the right side, on top right, you will see Activate Cloud Shell. You can use that to start a new Cloud Shell, and that is where you can test out commands, make files. Think of it as a virtual machine in the cloud that you can use to interact with GCP. That's the best way I can put it out, because it's a small lightweight Linux machine that Google provides that you can interact with all the resources that's there. So now let us start a JSON file. That is, I'm doing nano. I hope you guys can see. I will make it bigger. I'll open it in a new shell so we can enhance the size of it. So okay, let me increase the size of the terminal. Text size to large. There you go. I hope it's clear on the stream. So Nano is a text editor that's available in the Linux environment that you can use. It's easy to use. It's not as complicated as Vim or V or Emacs. It's very simple. We're going to create a file called values.json. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And once we create it, it'll open up the GNU Nano. It'll open up Nano. So what we can do there is we can make a JSON file. So we'll make a JSON file. It always starts with the curly brackets. And over there we can write name. So the first thing we need to write is we're going to make one that can interact with the cloud storage. So we'll create name, and we need to get the name of the bucket. So let's go back to GCP and let's find out the name of the bucket. So we can come all the way down to our storage, cloud storage. We can go to browser, and we don't have a bucket. So let us create a bucket. Okay, so we will go back. So this the particular cloud shell that we're going to create is going to be able to create a new bucket. So let's give it a bucket name. So we need to give it a very unique name. So we'll call it GDSC HWU lab bucket. Okay, for example. So that's quite a unique name. I don't think others would be using it. When I say unique name, it has to be unique in your namespace. We don't have any buckets, so any name would work, but having a sufficiently unique name helps quite a bit when it comes to GCP resources, because oftentimes as you create more and more projects, it'll be difficult to know what is unique and what might not be unique. Once we do that, let's create the next line. So the first one is a string value name, that is key value. The key is name and the value is GDSC HWU lab bucket. Now the location. So let's say let's use the default location, that is US. So let's create location. Let's make it a string value again of US and close double quotes. And so now we have two key value pairs in our JSON object notation. And now lastly, we need to tell it, we'll need to tell the Google Cloud Platform what sort of a storage class we need. So we say these are, okay. So one question we get often is, where do you get these values? Or these values are often found in the docs for Google. When you use the GCP docs, they are often mentioned there, particularly what you can use, or they can, you can create this using GUI on the GCP console on the dashboard. Over there, sometimes you need to do this via from your program. Sometimes your program should be able to dynamically create it, especially when you're making a large scale application. You might want to automatically create containers, create buckets to store data, delete them. So there is where this might come in handy, knowing and writing values that works with GCP. So for example, here to make a new bucket, we're saying, hey, we want it to be multi-regional. The location can be in US, and the name is given. So now it's a well formatted. So we know that this GCP, this thing is well formatted. Just to make sure it's well formatted, let's right click, copy it. Let's take it to Json Lint. So let's go to Json Lint, and let's test if our JSON is valid. So let's validate it. Yay, we have a validated JSON file. So let's save this. To save in Nano, you basically can do a Control O, that'll say write out, and then you do an exit. So what you can do is press Control and just tap O, and you can enter, so because you want to save the file as values.json. And then to exit, you can press Control X. The up arrow next to the letter means control, so you need to press Control plus the letter to get the particular command to run. So I'm going to press Control X, and we are out of it. So now that we have a JSON file with the 3 value pairs, so let's just see. Cat is a command that you can use to visualize what's inside a file. So we have a JSON notation in there. Once that is completed, now we need to authorize and authenticate what needs to be done. So 1 second. And okay, so there are authentication APIs. When you deploy an API, usually you want specific users or specific people to be only able to use it, or users of your particular platform. So you have to authenticate, and then only you're able to use. Otherwise, there would be an abuse of APIs, which would incur a lot of charges. So authorization is basically the process of determining what permissions a person has, an authenticated person has. And an authenticated person, authentication basically is a process of determining the client's identity, or who you are, or who this particular person is. So there are different ways of doing it. One is via API keys, one is via OAuth. API keys are specific unique keys that the server generates, and if you send the key to the server with your request in the header, the server knows, oh, hey, this API key is coming from this particular person, this API key is coming from that particular person, and so on. So let's now go through a tutorial to authenticate and authorize the cloud storage API that we just wrote for the time being. So let's go to the Auth 2.2 playground, which is available at developers.google.com/OAuth playground. In the quick labs, it's a link, it's hyperlinked over there. So you guys can click on that and open it. So this is where we can try out our APIs and our calls and stuff. So let's search for Google Cloud. Let's scroll for Google Cloud Storage, that is Cloud Storage version 1. So we have that, and let us try the dev storage, because we are developer storage full control, because we want to completely control, because there are other options that if you only want to read from somewhere, we can use that. Or if you want to write, that is also available, but we want to do both. We want to read, write, delete, create, everything. So let's use that, and then we will click the authorized APIs. So now it's authorizing our particular account. So I'm going to switch this to English. And we will use the account we've signed in with. And let's say, hey, let Google Cloud GCP be able to manage that. So continue. And there we go. Now we have authorization code, and we have the Once that is done, we should be able to exchange authorization code. So now we have an authorization code. Now we need to send it to the server to be authenticated. So let's send that. And see, when we sent a request to get, hey, can I get it authenticated? And we got a response back that said, okay, you know what, I'll authenticate it for you. And here's your access token. Here's the scope, what it's capable of doing, which this key, what you're capable of doing, and how long before it expires. That is in an hour. And what is a refresh token? So refresh tokens are basically tokens you use to re-authenticate the existing token. Okay. So once that is done, and once we need to copy the access token. So let's take this, the entire token. So that comes up to here. Let's right click, copy it. And then let's go to the cloud session over here. Over here, what we need to do is we need to create a file. And so let's do an ls, which will show what's there in the list. And there's two files there, a readme cloud.txt and a values.json. So what we can do is we need to export this particular authentication that we got into the terminal, or into the session that we are holding right now in the terminal in GCP, because otherwise how the virtual machine we're using in Google servers will not know what to use to authenticate. So to establish that we are the ones using it, we are going to put that authentication key over there. So we do auth 2 and we do token equal to, and then we paste the API key over here. So right click and we'll paste it as plain text. So, and once we do that and we press enter, we have in our particular session or in the terminal, we have said what the particular key for our token is, the OAuth token is. So I'm just gonna copy the OAuth token part, copy it and paste it. And now if I run it, I'm able to get back that API key. So now I can use it with all of our this thing. And another thing that we need to set in our project ID as an environment variable is a project ID. So for that, we can use export project ID equal to project underscore ID in capital. We can go back to our GCP, that is on GCP. You will see that right over there under project info, we have project name and project ID. So we copy that and we go back to the cloud and we paste it. So let's do an echo. Echo will show us what if that has been properly set. It'll just output what the value of this particular environment variable would be. So let's paste that and let's test it. There we go. Our project ID and our this thing has been set. So now let's make a request to the server. Let's make a request. So what we can do now is, remember earlier when we looked over here, we didn't have anything. We had no bucket, nothing. Now over here, what we can do is we can do curl. Curl is a terminal command line that you can use to ping or to send requests to servers on from the terminal. So Control X, capital X. So we're going to make a post. So we want to create something new. We want to create a new bucket. So we're going to be using post. So X tells what kind of method we want to use. So we are saying curl -x post. And then we want to take the data. So we're taking the data and we're saying, hey, I want the data binary to be the values, the values.json file we created in earlier, with the name, the location, and what type of a storage system it should be. Let us create the, I'm going to put a backward slash to go to the next line without actually sending the command to the server so that I can type in more details. So -h, that is header, that stands for header. I want to add this into the header. So I will add authorization. So authorization, yes. And I'm going to put that in a colon, bearer, $. $sign stands for variables when you want to use variables. And I'm going to use the OAuth 2 underscore token. And once that is done, we need to give more details. So now we have specified what is the data that we need to use, and in the header we have said, oh, this is the authorization, the token that you use for authorization. On the next line, let's add one more thing. We're going to say what kind of a content are we sending to the server. So we're going to have content type, and that's going to be, we are sending in a JSON file. So we're going to say application/JSON. So once we add that, we add the double quotes. So now there are two things in the header file for this particular request. And now our question is, where do we send this request to? So where we send this request to is at a particular URL that has been specified. That earlier is HTTPS at, so I'm actually going to type it out. Okay, so / www.googleapis googleapis.com/storage/v1/b ? And project. We can, because earlier, remember, this is the query we are sending. This is the query we are sending to the server. So we're saying, hey, I want it to be for my particular project. So, but we need to send the project ID, and we saved the project ID earlier in the session as a environment variable. So all we need to do is just use the project ID variable name, and it will automatically store it. So right now, this is the request we're going to send. We're going to be sending it to googleapis.com/storage/v1/b. And we are saying create the bucket in this particular project, and we give the project ID. What should be the name of the bucket, what type of a bucket should it be, and where should it be is given in the values.json. And in the header, we are saying, hey, I'm sending you a JSON file, and I'm this person, I'm authorizing. I have an issue. This command is going to fail because if you observe, I have mistyped in the third line. It's instead of content, it's continue. So I need to retype this. So this will fail. It will give me an error. So this is what happens when an API is not well formed. So right now, this entire API, instead of being on multiple lines, it's on a single line. So I'm just gonna move back and change that to content and run it again. And now you see it took a little longer before it returned a response back. But if you take a look at the response, it's interestingly, it's created a new bucket. So we can see what kind of a resource is created, a storage bucket. And what is the link to it? This is the new URL. So we have the bucket is available at googleapis.com storage/v1/b, and there. What is the ID, the name, and under what project was it made? Where is it located, and what kind of storage class is it? When was it created, and when was it last updated? That's the same for this because it was just created. And what type of a location type? We mentioned this value, we mentioned the name, and we mentioned the location and the JSON values.json. So once that is done, now if we actually go back to the browser and let's refresh the page. So let's just cancel. We will refresh over here. You see, the bucket was created. We created the bucket not by pressing GUI buttons, but rather through programmatically. So if you have a program and you want to create a Google bucket to store some details from your program, this is one method, one way of doing it. So once that is done, you can check my progress on the lab, and you will get a tick mark right there. So I'll show you how that looks. So you can check my progress, and once you've completed it, you will get and you can see we are already done with 50% of the lab. So now the next challenge for us is we want to test out how to upload stuff into the particular cloud storage. And 1 second, let me just check for questions. Kilan asks, what is a bucket? Okay, a bucket is nothing but think of it as a place to store, like a drive. You have Google Drive. Think of your Google Drive as a bucket where you can put whatever you want to store in it. Think of it like a hard drive, a physical hard drive that you put things into, but it's not a physical hard drive, but a bucket is only accessed by the people you mention, like you specify, or APIs or endpoints that you specify for it. So now we will be showing an example how to upload to it via an API. You can manually do it. You can definitely go into it and manually add upload files and upload folders, very similar to how you would do it on Google Drive. But for us as programmers, we might want to do it from the program. So that's where we use it. I hope that cleared up your question, Akilan. Okay, so let us save the image from the lab. That is, let's save it as demo image PNG. So let's save that as demo image on. Okay, so once we have, now we have okay, let us add the file. Let us upload the file that we just downloaded. So let's go to pictures, let's go demo image, and let's add it. So now that it's uploading the image, the same way you would do to Google Drive. So suppose say we have added it. So this is how you would add it manually if you need to add before you deploy a project. So now what we can do is in our Cloud Shell, we can say real path. Now we want to know the location of that thing, the particular picture that we just uploaded. We can use real path and we can say, hey, tell me where it is. So you can do demo hyphen image because the name of the file was demo image. And you get it. So you can see that it is at home. It's under the username for this account and it's /demo.png. So now what we can do is we can export the particular object. We can say, hey, this is the object we want to upload. So we can say like the object we want to upload is going to be export object equal to, and let's copy this path. We will give it as this path. So we'll paste it. So now if I do an echo object, I will still get the same there we go. So object, the variable object now holds values for the student where the particular demo images on the GCP. So we also need to export the bucket name because we had created a bucket. So let's say export bucket underscore name equal to this is the name. In the response we got the name, so we'll copy it and we'll paste it and let's press enter. So now let's test out that the bucket name is also properly set up. So let's do bucket underscore name. Oh, spelling. There you go. So we have that also set. Now we are going to upload the file to this particular bucket and we are going to test it out. So let's see. Actually, we already uploaded the file. So okay, let us make a small change. Since it's in this, we're going to delete it from this particular bucket because we tried manually uploading it. It's there. So let's say we want to delete it. So that is select it and we will delete, and let's delete it. In our Cloud Shell, let's upload it. So let's tap the three buttons. Let's just say, hey, we want to upload a new file and we will put it, choose file, pictures, demo image, and let's upload it again. So it should be back to the normal place that we had put it earlier. So let's see where this time it was uploaded. As you can see, it's still in the same place that it was uploaded earlier. So now what we can do is we can upload it using the APIs to the bucket. So now the bucket is again empty because we deleted what was there in it earlier. So let's upload it from the shell, from the computer to the bucket, but this time using an API. So again, we use the command line tool called curl and we do -x. We want to post it. So we're saying the method is post. And what this time the data we want to send is going to be data -binary is going to be the object. So let's say at $object. So it's the whatever is stored in the object variable. Once that is there, again, I'm going to put it on a new line. So again, the header. Now again at the header, we need to tell it what exactly or who we are. So the same command that we used earlier, that is going to be, 1 second. That is again going to be authorization bearer, and I'm using the token key that we used earlier, which we saved in the session as auth2 token. We also need to tell that, hey, I'm going to be sending an image. Last time we wrote in the last API, we said, okay, I'm sending you a JSON file. So over here we can see that we said, hey, the content type is application.json. But this time we're going to be like, hey, I'm going to send you an image this time. So I pasted it twice. So content png.image, so slash. And now comes the part. Now, which endpoint do we send it to? Earlier, we just sent it to Google Storage APIs and we said, hey, slash storage, and we want to create a new storage over here. Now we want to upload to that particular storage. So what we can do now is we can do HTTPS. So that is HTTPS and www.googleapis.com/upload/storage /v1/b/ now the bucket name. So we said, okay, I want to upload it to googleapis.com/ I want to upload something. Upload where? To a storage. I want to use the version 1 of that API, and B, we say which bucket, and now we're going to give it the bucket name. So we're going to give it bucket underscore name, and we're going to say what do we want to upload. So we're going to give it now the parameters. So to upload, now we're going to say the upload type is going to be a media. So let's say upload, we want to upload a media type. So we're going to do upload type is equal to media. Sorry, my mistake. It's supposed to be small m, media. And we want to say what is the name of it. So what media are we uploading? So we say the name is going to be demo image because we have that saved. So demo -image. So now let us end the bracket and let's send it. Let's see if it works. Cannot work. Oh, I have made a mistake. It's supposed to be data binary, not data binary. So let's scroll all the way back. Actually, let me just remove this, close that. Okay, and let's go all the way back. And why is it not responding? Yes, there you go. We have that, and let's go change it to data. Now we have curl, that is a post method. The data binary is going to be the object. Header has two content in it, that is authorization and the content type. And we are sending it to the Google storage, and let's send it again. There we go. Now we have uploaded it. We have a media link where we can find the particular image. Then we have which bucket was it put in, and the size of it, and what the hash of it would be, and what time we updated it, we put it. So if we go back to the history, if we go back to the bucket and we refresh the page, let's just reload it. Actually, there is a reload button right there. Oh, there you go. There you go. As you can see, we have uploaded a file right now to, earlier we had uploaded a file, we deleted it, and now we have a new file. And this was uploaded from the API instead of being manually uploaded like we saw the first time. So that is the initial, that is how you upload from the API key, like using the API key, how you would upload to the cloud storage. And that is this lab to show you guys how you can interact. We just used this one as an example, this cloud storage as an example, to show you how you can upload an image, for example. So we went through how we can make a new resource, how we can upload a new resource. We can do it via GUI, but at the same time, you can, if you want to do it via your app or your program or your system, you can do it via APIs also. In further labs and tutorials as you go along throughout, as we go through the quick labs, you will be seeing that oftentimes we'll be using APIs to create stuff rather than using the GUI. Because sometimes that makes sense as developers, but sometimes we use the GUI to make. So not everyone has to be a developer to be able to work with these. So that's why GCP has provided a very good a dashboard and an interface, a web interface to create all of the different services that they offer. So that way we don't have to delve into it and we can quickly get up and running. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lab session and you guys have received, like you guys have learned how the APIs work and what JSON is and what protocols and methods you'd use. If you guys have questions, please do ask. I have the chat open in over here. So Akilan has a question. So do you guys have okay, sorry, let me start with Ismail's question. Do you guys have a recording for quick labs? Yes, there is. This is a live session that will be recorded and put on the YouTube channel. Okay, so you've been, okay, no worries. So we have Akilan's question: are all contents in a bucket public? No. The buckets content, when you by default, when you upload something to a bucket, it's not public, it's usually private. You can specify if you want to make a particular bucket public and whatever data is put into it to be public. You as the user or the developer get to control each and every aspect of security. For example, for it, you can specify access policies that define or that lets particular people access it and others not to. So you have full control over it. So whether you want to use it for, say, health data of a patient, which is supposed to be kept secure and only the patient and the doctors can access it, that can be done. You want to host a media server where you want multiple people to come visit your and be able to access your images and stuff, that too can be set up. So there are various techniques that you can employ and use with these. There are different techniques that you can do. I hope that has made it clear for you, Kilon. So questions? Or I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you, and for the people that might be watching later on, there will be more details about the quick lab, the lab that we did in this session will be put in the description. Most likely you guys will be able to see the questions in chat too. If not, the questions mostly asked was what is a bucket, and a bucket is basically, think of it as like a Google Drive that you can create in the cloud exclusively for your application. And is bucket like a CDN? No, a bucket is not like a CDN. A CDN is basically uses a content delivery network, is basically a complex network that caches whatever data that you regularly serve to your customers or your users. A CDN is a bucket is a storage place where the data would be stored. A CDN would pull data from there and then cache it and then serve it out. So that's that. Thank you guys for attending. We are still on time. We are well within the time frame, so that is nice. So yeah, so hopefully soon the next session we are able to have in person and rather than being online primary. So yeah, looking forward to meeting all of y'all in person. So take care, thank you, and goodbye.